All right. Um, I'm sitting here with a face that, if you live in Tumbler Ridge, you are familiar with. This is Mayor Darryl Krakowka, for those of you who might not live here. Um, and like I was telling him, these are just chances to tell stories, to talk about basically whatever people want to. So the goal is to, you know, talk to the talk to the community. And I know over the last few weeks, I mean, you've had some chances to talk to the community as a whole, but this is just another chance. So let's talk about where you're at now. It's been more than a week. Is it starting to slow down? Is it starting to sink in? Is it starting to now become a part of what Tumbler Ridge is, or is it still fresh and new?
Yeah, I don't know if it's been a week and people are, it's past it. I think it's going to be in the forefront for a while. I don't think this is a short-term tragedy that we went through last Tuesday. I mean, and when I say we went through, the teachers and the students and the first responders and such, and to me it's still fresh. And I was able to finally get out of town hall. I want to say it was Wednesday. It might have been, yeah, maybe it might have been Thursday night. I was finally able to get out of meetings, and we were here fairly late most of the week after Tuesday. Go around and talk to some of the youth and give hugs and hug parents, and to me the big family of Tumbler Ridge, and just have an ear. Like I've said it all along. Make sure we have ears that if somebody needs an ear or a shoulder, or give them a hug. And so I wanted to be out there and do the same thing. You're preaching other people to do it, so it was very important for me to get out there and be out there with the big family at Tumbler Ridge. So yeah, I think it's still fresh. People are hurting. People are grieving. Everybody's going to go at their own speed when it comes to the grieving stages and what does that look like. And I think the same thing for our first responders. They're all going to go through it a different way as well as the teachers and the students. And I haven't been on social media since Tuesday afternoon, and when I'm prepared, I'll eventually go on. But one thing I notice is whether it's some of the young youth in town or even some of the parents of the community, I think they realize I'm not on social media. I'll answer Messenger, but people are just sending me clips that they think are important to read, which I do read and thank them. And yeah, I think it's still fresh. I mean, we're still here and trying to support the community as a whole, working with the province to make sure that we have the needs that we know that we need right now that are in town. So the counselors that are here, mental health counselors. We have Car 60, whether everybody knows Car 60 is in town. So it is a mental health nurse on board one of the RCMP cruisers so that they can support the RCMP member, but also supporting the residents in Tumbler Ridge or the big family if there is needs later in the evenings and stuff, that we have the right people at the right time for the help that the community needs.
Okay. Um, yeah, I was talking with the premier, and one of the things that I was sort of observing that, crap rolls downhill metaphorically. Responsibility for the tends to roll uphill. Um, how have you been dealing with this? How have you been processing this?
Yeah, I don't know if I want to talk about myself because I don't think it's about me. Again, I'm here for the community of Tumbler Ridge, and obviously I have the same help as our community has. And I'll be honest, when I was hugging some of the youth, when you whisper in their ear, reach out if you need to talk. I'm here if you trust me, and if you don't trust me, trust another adult that you're close to, or your parents, obviously. I said, but also these counselors are here in town now, and one of the youth whispered back to my ear, "Have you gone yet?" I'm asking you to go and I haven't gone yet. So I did have an appointment and go. So I can tell our youth and our adults, when I went, I was nothing but respect. I think they're doing an amazing job. I had a great counselor. She was amazing. And, again, I've heard from some youth, oh, these are outsiders. They're from the outside. Sometimes that's almost better. They don't know if when I'm talking about, some of the things, maybe not just this tragedy, that they don't know that individual, or they don't know me personally. So I think I was more open because they are not somebody I see every day walking up and down our streets. That I think it was so much easier just to open up and talk about maybe some of the things that were going through my heart and my brain. And be honest, the first question is, why am I so emotional? I wasn't at the school. I didn't have a young child that went to that school. My children are adults. Yes, I know every child and youth that goes to school, they come to my business. You see them at the hockey games, you see them in the arena, so you know them all, but it's a different way. So to me, I believe, my heart tells me those youth and those children in this community are all of our children and youth, just in a different way. And I've been here 19 years, and this community is one that's so strong, but so supportive of everybody we can be supportive of, and anybody that needs help, somebody's always there to do something. Anything we can do as a community, it's just so important. So I can openly tell the youth now, which I have been, and like I said, like my experience talking to counselors, it was great.
Okay. Yeah, and I know for me, Miguel, who used to be the counselor at the school during the 3 months that I worked there, he was one of the counselors there, and he was the one that I wanted to talk to for exactly the opposite reason, was because he was somebody I knew. So different people process different ways, and that's tough. One of the things that I'm seeing on social media is a lot of people saying, this is the way that this should be done, or no, this is the way that this should be done. The issue of the school has become really contentious, where people are like, no, they need to go back and face their fears, and other people are saying burn it to the ground. Like, I know this is a provincial decision and a school district one, but have you been kind of following the discussions around that? Like, what do you know that you can tell us?
Yeah, I can share the trend. So again, I am not on social media this time. I used to go on social media. Obviously, I used to share things definitely from the district side on things that I thought was important to get it out to the community. Some people followed the district page. Some people were following the mayor's page or the councilor pages or other pages within our community that maybe the district doesn't post to. So I 100% was always on social media, making sure that things that were happening in the community, we're sharing it, and people could get in contact with me that way. So since the tragedy, I've stayed off social media. I'm not sure if I'm prepared to go back on it yet. So yeah, I've heard from youth. They don't want to go back. I've heard from children they don't want to go back. The younger ages don't want to go back. I've heard from parents saying what their children are saying. And again, this is a school district and the province to work together on what that means. So school district, and I can only say what they've said so far. In the open, and right now we have ACO trailers that is they're stage 1 temporary, what they're looking at trying to do, and I think more will come from the school district on when they look at school coming back. They've advertised no school this week, and I think as they talk to the teachers and see the wants when they want to come back. We have multiple teachers, whether they were at the high school or the secondary school, or the elementary school. Even the children at the elementary school were still affected with this tragedy. They went into an immediate lockdown as well. So again, I don't think this is just a decision being made by the school district or the board of the school district or the province. They're going to listen to the community, and the community is every one of us. So, I just think, again, it's not quite 8 days. Everything's fresh in everybody's minds. Everybody's giving their side as money. And I've talked to some of the youth at the community center or on the street or adults. I think we just got to slow down and make sure we include everybody. Everybody should have a voice, and not that they can't share it freely. Whether that's no, I want to go back and this is why, or no, we shouldn't be going back there and this is why. I think we have to allow those youth, children, teachers, school district, to have those conversations. It's right now they're not in school, so they're not together having the weigh in from each other. And we definitely don't want to see it become angry about it. Like, I think it needs to be an open, calm conversations as people start to dialogue this. And to be honest, like, obviously as a community, everybody in the community should have a say or at least a comment, as well as the elected officials. And I'm here for the community. And yeah, there's going to be both sides. And it's not about picking one over the other. What is the best thing to move this forward, for the families that have lost loved ones? Like, right now, or so early, we have a young lady in the hospital, Maya, fighting for her life. just before we started this, again, I'm on social media, so somebody had sent the update. They've moved her. Her mom's mentioning it that they've moved her to a recovery unit. And such a good thing, and and David that's down there, the dad, and again, I think it's been 8 days. We really need to send our prayers and any support we can for Maya. And you see the hockey group here in Tumbler, and they're so supportive of all the youth and children, not just Maya, but right now we have Maya fighting in the hospital, and we really need to make sure, we're sending all the support we can from Tumbler Ridge and Canada and the world. I think it's so important that we're very supportive of Maya and her family, and keep that in our hearts, and keep positive thoughts as she starts to fight through that process. And it's great to see the updates and stuff like that from that family, to make sure they're keeping, they're keeping the community, the big family of Tumbler Ridge, up to date what's going on. And I can't speak for the family, but that can't be easy. You're there, you're supporting your daughter, and you're doing all that, but you're still thinking, well, we've got to keep updating the family of Tumbler Ridge and our own personal families on what's happening. And I think that's really, in my opinion, we need to slow down and focus on that. Let's get all of these young adults and that back into the community. Paige came home yesterday. What a great thing to hear. So she's back in our community, and same with Paige. We just need to make sure her family and herself has the right supports that they need. And again, we're just, I'm not sure, I honestly, I don't think I've been updated, and if I have, I haven't got it in my brain yet, but we had 25 people injured. Are they all back in our community? I don't know that yet. We have teachers that are needing to go through their own dialogue. They were there as well as the youth and children, and to me, they're all heroes. When I look at like a Tuesday, I just we have so many heroes in this community. And you heard some stories talked about by the Premier on the vigil on Friday.
So you can keep talking.
I didn't know you were changing things. Sorry.
Yeah, the video has died because the battery died. I forgot to check that before I got
okay,
to that.
No problem.
So there's a nice. Yeah, we're blocked right now, but we can still hear you. So
yeah,
keep
so
talking.
I just look at the heroes, and I mean every one of them. And then you heard the Premier share a thing, and then somebody shared me a picture of Mr. Dealey's thing, and again, stating that he knows he's not the only one. He's not the only one there. They're all, and I believe that. When we look at what the teachers practice for, and the youth and the students that have always practiced for, and an intruder alarm. I mean, one thing was said by I don't know if it was a teacher or a parent, geez, you practice for it, but you never think you need it. It's no different than a fire alarm at school. You hope you practice for a fire alarm at school, and you never need it. But they needed it one day, and listening to some of the stories that are coming out, and those people need to be the ones that tell it, not myself. That they've told a part of it too. That they're all heroes. They did what they were trained to do with the support of their youth and their children in their classrooms. That fully understood how to do it, when to do it, why to do it, and let's be quiet. That's what I've heard. And again, every student and youth at that school, every teacher, the principal, all the support staff, they did exactly what they practiced to do, and they've saved multiple children and youth. It's just they're all heroes. And then we look at the RCMP, 2 minutes and they're on scene. They're heroes. They are heroes as well. You look at the fire department, they're heroes as well. All those members. BC Ambulance, same, hero in my heart and in my soul. Then we look at the medical clinic. Every nurse, doctor, all their backup staff, all the admin staff, those people are all heroes. Even if they're not a nurse, they were in that clinic assisting whatever the nurses needed or what a doctor needed, all that back stuff. So we have so many heroes in this community that I don't want to take away from that. So I think we just need to focus on Maya and any of the other injured family members from Tumbler Ridge that are not back home yet. And all the injured might be still in the community. I'd never asked for that update, I'll be honest. Worried about the ones that have lost their loved ones, worried about the 2 that were in critical condition. I think maybe that's where all of our focus has been. Maybe I'm speaking wrong on behalf of the community, but that was the most important. Then we look at some of the other scenarios that happened last week. A group of people get together with Andrew and Jeff Solvik. I mean, multiple people. It wasn't, and they made it loud and clear to me. It wasn't just those 2, and I know that. But planned a vigil, and man, what an amazing job that whole group did. And the community is a big family coming down to have support and be there. That was huge. Some people were, I wouldn't say against, but weren't sure. We got premiers here. Is he here for the right reason? And I believe Tumbler Ridge has seen it. The ministry staff that was here and the premier on Wednesday, and they left Thursday, were here for the right reasons. The mayor as elected official as well as council saying, hey, listen, before I even know that we had that many injured or we had fatalities at the school, the first thing we're going to need counseling with boots on the ground, not this Zoom stuff and that. Boots on the ground. I need them here tonight, if not tomorrow morning. I'll be honest, the government came through. We had people, I'm not sure how late, Tuesday night that arrived late that had to just wait till the morning, and then more arrived. That to me was so important for the community, so important. Then obviously we had the Prime Minister come and the other leaders of the federal government. And I think some people thought, why are they coming now? And I've heard that. When I learned from the Prime Minister, when it was late at night. I mean, I didn't meet with him all day. I was supposed to travel around and meet with the fire department and the police department and the school board and all that with the Prime Minister. But I was actually talking with the youth, and I thought that was more important than being part of the tour to go around. And it was no disrespect to anybody at the health center or anything, but the youth wanted my time, and that was more important for me. But later on that night, and they might have mentioned it out on the, I think Pierre mentioned it out, the leader for the Conservative Party, leader of the opposition, had mentioned about they flow together. And I'll be honest, I had a hard time hearing stuff as I stepped back away, but hearing it that night, how they flew together.
Yeah.
That tells you no party lines. They're coming to Tumbler Ridge for the right reason, to support the community, tell us what we need, work with the province for what the needs are going to be. That was, to me, was what they were here for. And to hear they flew on the same plane that just tells you. I don't know. I don't follow the federal government on every plane they get on, but I don't know if this is the first time that, if anybody can find that out. Can I ask? Probably. Have I done it yet? No, I'm a little busy, but is this the first time that we've had federal parties flying the same plane? I mean, obviously it was a tragedy that made them get on the same plane together, but a little bit of a joke there. I asked the Prime Minister, I said, so how often did you have to turn around and tell him to start behaving, or are you going to turn that plane around? And he laughed. He said, well, I didn't sit in front of him. I sat behind him so I could keep an eye on him. A little bit of a joke. You got to laugh a little bit through this tragedy, and I thought it was pretty good when he said that. And again, I think they were here for the right reason, and support the community, support the families. One comment the Prime Minister made is, thank you for allowing me to be in your community. I think that spoke words there. Talk a bit about the vigil. I think the most powerful thing for me is obviously our First Nations, making sure that we were reaching out right away as soon as we knew that we're doing it on Friday. But having the West Moberly Elder, George Desjardins, here, and then he opens it up with a prayer song, and the first thing he says, this is the time that we all hold hands together. Again, I didn't have an opportunity to look down. I just did what he was asking us to do, and I got to hold the hand of the chief from Soto First Nations. But later on, some of the photographers that they bring on their own, showing pictures of the party leaders holding hands.
Yeah.
Just a true thing that they were here for. But to me, the prayer from the elder, again, that was to me the strong thing. It was so great to have them here, and the respect they show for us as a family, and we show for them as a family, because they are part of the family. They're our neighbors. They're our neighbors that are very close to our community. But to see that, and Chief Wilson, I try to spend as much time as I can when they're here at Town Hall that day, and even him choking up, not sure how he's going to get it out, but that shows the hurt that this tragedy has done, not just to Tumbler Ridge, but especially the families that have lost loved ones, but how the region sees it. But it's not just the region. Canada is grieving, and the messages from the world is grieving, and again, we're so early in this, Trent, that when I asked the Premier for counseling, I said, I'm not looking for a day or 2 days or the next week or 2 weeks from now or a month from now. I said, I want to look it out long. I said, I want commitment from the province that we have 6 months, boots on the ground with counselors for this community on whoever needs some support. That was committed by the Premier, that let's get through this and figure out how we commit And like I said, like, let's reevaluate it at the 4 month mark or the 5 month mark. Maybe we don't need 7 or 8 after 2 months. They can, we can go down to 5. And I think the province will have a very more of a pulse on that than I will, or the health authority would be the ones, and they'll build it. But I don't want us ever being without a counselor in this community for a minimum of 6 months, and to me, a year. If we should, honestly, this needs to be every support, and to me, that's what I heard from the province, and they need to speak to it for themselves. I know what he said to me, that as we have asked, reach out to the province. They're here to support Tumbler Ridge as a community, so the whole family. And I think that part is what's important to me, is make sure we have everything we need, and try to help where we can with counseling or mental health counseling. We need to, we've lost that back in the day, and we needed that back permanently. Not only in Tumbler Ridge, but Tumbler Ridge is where I am, and that's what I need. But we need to look at it in all small communities, like, hour and a half to go get counseling or mental health counseling, or you can do it by Zoom, and that's not the same for young children and the young youth, and not the same for adults. Like, who wants to talk into a computer screen? Some people are very tech savvy and like that tech. I don't. If I need to talk to somebody, I want to be face to face or on the phone, and not a counselor on the phone. I won't agree to that. But I'll call you, Trent, before I ever email you. Yeah. I'm not an email guy. I don't like that tech stuff. So, yeah, I mean, I have so much in my brain and in my heart and my soul to say. And when media, you get to do an interview, you talk for 8-10 minutes with media in an interview, and they take 10 seconds of that and make something up. That's hurtful. I'll be honest. I think Globe, I haven't watched it. People said you got to watch your interview you did Tuesday with Chris. I haven't had a chance yet, but most are like Chris said. I want to try and keep it to about this time, because we want to be able to use the whole interview, which to me that showed that. Thank you. That, I don't want just clips in that, because sometimes they put it together and it's not what I said. It's not what I meant. And I just, obviously you're live, and I think that's a lot different than talking for 30 minutes or whatever it's going to be, and then you take 2 minutes out of that and try to grabble something together. It's, my heart's with this community, for all those families that have lost loved ones. Like, that's can't imagine. Yeah. Can't imagine.
Now, you were, well, famously is probably the wrong word, but you used to work as a ambulance attendant, right? You were head of here. You stepped down from that, what, 10 years ago, 15 years ago? A while back.
Yeah, it's been a while since I've been on ambulance. I think I retired in 2019, if I can remember correctly. I tried to work with BC Ambulance through my first term at council. Yeah. And it's tough when you're sitting on council and your pager goes off because you're on call and you got to leave a council meeting. That's not what the people elected you to do. Yeah. You need to be here to support what they have told you that they're looking at. So it's been about 10 years or so.
In a situation like that, like this, is there a part of you that's sitting there going, I want to be there, like, on the ground and helping, or is this one of those things where it's like, I'm so glad that I'm not there, because I wasn't there, and I was having a tough time keeping myself composed.
Yeah, again, I always try to deflect anything about me. Again, it's about my community, and it's about those families. But I'll be honest. I'd love to always stayed with BC Ambulance or stayed on the fire department. I've been on a fire department for a long time in Alberta. Been a paramedic for a long time as well, and it's that brother and sister relationship, and those people that you go to help, and it's not you're only there to help them. It's the patient context, I call them. I love that part. I love my brothers and sisters on the BC Ambulance. I love the patient contact, because you're there when they're need, but such a small community, you're not there just for that night. You see them again, how's it going, whatever it is. So, did I think, geez, could I do something? I'll be honest with you. I had started to call in to dispatch to let them know that if something happens, I could drive. I don't have a paramedic license no more, so I cannot be a paramedic. I do have first aid, but again, we have amazing paramedics in this community. They did their job. They were there for the people that needed them there. But yeah, I did think about it. Like, I can drive. I can't fly the plane, but I can drive the ambulance if that's what they needed. So I did think about it calling in and saying that if there's support needed, I can help. I mean, I know they brought multiple units in from outside the community to also assist the local paramedics. So again, don't get in their way. I didn't want to take up a phone line talking into dispatch. I still have it actually dispatch programmed into my phone because you don't get rid of that stuff. Like that's the same thing, and you know, they did their job, and I mean that's their role now. Is they're the people that work for BC Ambulance, but. Yeah, would I have loved to have been there? I can't say that, Trent. I'll be honest with you. If I'm still in ambulance, obviously I would show up. That's your job. But you know, we have great people that work for BC Ambulance in Tumbler Ridge, and you know they showed up and they were heroes. They were heroes, just like the fire department, the police, the teachers, the students, all that. Like it's, I don't want to take anything away from it. It's not what I would do or what would I've liked to do in this. But I'll be honest, I've reached out to some of my ex-brothers and sisters, and there'll always be my brothers and sisters, whether that's the fire department or BC Ambulance, and even the health center. You know, some of the nurses have left, and new nurses are now working for Northern Health here. They're still brothers and sisters. I mean, I understand that, you know, not what they went through on that tragedy day, but, you know, they still have bad calls throughout the year. I reached out right away. After the event, you know, I made sure I gave hugs to everybody I could see, and you know, same thing, I told them, and I get it, and I know for a fact BC Ambulance had their counselors on site, making sure they had support for the membership. Northern Health would have done the same thing. Sometimes you just want to talk to a guy that used to do the same job. Sometimes it's a little easier. Again, give an ear when you can give an ear, give the shoulder when they need your shoulder, and give them a hug when they need the hug. I think it's so important in our community, and not just during the tragedy. This should be forever.
All right. The Prime Minister showed up, the leaders of all the parties showed up, the Premier showed up. There was a lot of outpouring of support that we saw on the ground, but there's also been a lot of outpouring of support that has been kind of out there that maybe we haven't seen, or that maybe you've seen that I haven't seen. Like I saw Colonel Chris Hadfield posted something. Is there a person or a message that hit you, or that came before you that you were like, oh man, just to having this message, or you know, this person express sympathy? Tell me a little bit about that.
Yeah, so I have, be honest with you, I haven't been into my emails. I haven't been on social media. I've been very, very busy. I think I have 900 emails or something like that. Again, I wouldn't say it's about me. I think any of these condolences messages are for the community of Tumbler Ridge. They are for the whole community, all the family members, anybody that was at school, anybody that's lost a loved one. That's what those messages are for. They're not meant for the mayor or that or the,
but for the town.
elected officials. So can I say I opened up any of them that I've read yet? No.
Okay.
So I know staff has shared some of the ones that they've had opportunities to be able to get opened up. So yeah, there's been multiple right across the world, not even just Canada, across the world. And I mean, I think, you know, as I get through them, I think they all mean so much. To pick one over the other, I would never do that. I just think that those messages are all for the community. They may be directed to the elected officials' emails or the district email, but they're for the community. They're not for myself. It might come through me. But you know, those are for the community. Like that's how this tragedy is affect, never mind our community and our region, or Canada or the province of British Columbia, but the world. You know, King Charles reaching out is what I've heard of one, and all. Like it's just like I said, overwhelming.
Yeah.
You know, overwhelming. But yeah, I don't think one. I couldn't say that it was one over the other. You know, I know Team Canada has reached out. I believe the Oilers might have reached out. The Canucks had done something. The Golden Eyes in Vancouver have said stuff. Again, I haven't been through it a lot. I haven't opened up. People share with me, which is amazing that they're sharing some of that because I haven't gone into my email. But again, that's for the community. It's not for myself. And you know, obviously I believe staff had mentioned it to me that one of the employees that work in town hall, as they're getting them through the emails, they're printing them off. So eventually, how we distribute that or have it here where people can come into town hall or the community center, the curling, I'm not sure how much we've received, but I think it's important if people want to read them. We've received lots, and even cards and stuff like that. But I guess, again, I do Messenger, but I'm not doing Facebook. So
Yeah.
I do. If people private message me, and obviously the community knows that because people, not everybody has my personal cell number. I mean, some have probably they can find my mayor phone number. It was online. I believe staff's pulled it down just to help with all the media reaching out. It was overwhelming. So Messenger is still there. So I've answered community members that way. I guess my biggest one through Messenger, I think, would probably be me. To be honest, the old fire department I was on.
Yeah.
You know, again, brothers and sisters, and our fire department knows what it's like. But you know, I was there for I don't remember how many years in Lacombe on the fire department there, but we've seen a lot of stuff together. We went on a lot of calls, and you know, to see that reach out, or the past fire chief I worked under, and you know, the captains that reached out, and even the firefighters, and then the alumni as well. You know, I think that hit home. I think
Yeah.
because you know that we didn't deal with that when we were on the fire department, or even when I was on the ambulance, but there was the other calls that we went to that, you know, there was some fairly big tragic accidents and stuff, and you know, we were there for each other, right? So I think those are the ones I think that, you know, that reached out. I'll be honest, when you go in the community center on, honestly I think it was Wednesday night, and if I was wrong it would have been Thursday night, but you know, when you have a young youth run down the hallway and jump straight into your arms, and then the parent comes up later and says, I didn't even get a hug like that. Wow. Like,
Yeah.
to me, like, that probably meant more than the previous fire department I worked on. When you think about that, when a parent says, I didn't even get a hug like that, Darryl, like, you know, those kids were hurting.
Yeah.
And, you know, and I think when you talk about, you know, have an ear when you need an ear, or a shoulder, or give that hug, I think it's been really something I'm passionate about. I was passionate about in 2023 when we had an evacuation, and it wasn't about let's invite our residents back to the community when it's safe to do so. It was about inviting the big family back to Tumbler Ridge, because we're one big family. So when children and youth do something like that, I think that's probably the biggest thing that breaks your heart.
Yeah.
You know, maybe I wasn't at the community center early enough. Maybe we didn't have enough support, you know, of adults in the community. I mean, everybody was hurting in a different way, and you know, our youth and our children are so amazing in this community on how they support each other, and you know, they're there for each other. You see it. You've seen it way before the tragedy. I mean, for sure, you're seeing it after the tragedy, and I think that's the part that's so important, that these youth and children have a safe place. And if everybody was aware, we were having media issues. Youth was very vocal about some of the issues they were dealing with, and I'll be honest, some parents reached out to me as well, and you know, I went over to the memorial. Our youth and our children felt they couldn't go over there and pay respect to what they knew the memorial meant. So I did. I went over and begged, pleaded, explained the reason I asked them to move across the street. And the only reason I asked them to move across the street and not somewhere else in the community, instead of trying to photographer or videotape or camera these young children and adults and youth, was I asked some of the youth, like, okay, so if I go over there, what would you like me to do? Where would you like them to move them to? Do I offer, like, let's try across the street and see how comfortable you guys are as youth, and what you guys are hearing from your other friends and some of the younger children? Yeah, let's start with that, Darryl. So I did that. And I'll be honest, I don't think there was one media person there that said, no, you know, the law states this is public property and we're allowed. They didn't pull that card. I respected that. But then later on, I started hearing from the youth again. I think it was on Thursday. This was mentioned to me, and it might have been. I actually apologize. It was Friday. A few youth had shared that, you know, they were still having issues with cameras being jammed in their face, or they were being directly approached. So, you know, I take blame. I thought I had done it. I think it was probably done but not sent out, so my bad. But, you know, I said to the youth, I said, okay, right on. I already did one interview that morning with, I think it was CTV National. I said, I'm going to cancel all rest media for Friday, and I'm not doing anything on Saturday and Sunday. I was already not doing something on Monday anyways. It was family day. And, you know, they used to say, oh, no, don't do that. Like, we need to make sure that, you know, people are getting the updated information that you're getting, or if you have something to get out to our community, that you have an option. And I said, I have an option. That's the following Tuesday when I started reporting back to media. And I think it was because I wanted to respect what the youth were telling me and what they were hearing from the children. They should have a right to go to a memorial and pay their respects, or just go visit it. That's what some are doing now. They should have that right without a camera being jammed in their face, or an interviewer. I heard a story, and I was not on location, so it was a story from a parent, or it was a youth that told me about it. But when the school district was able to start working through the process of getting some of this stuff out of the school, so phones and whatever technology the student had that was easy to get. I'm not sure how it was done. That'd be a good question for the school district 59, because I don't want to say how they retrieve stuff. But a reporter actually stood in line, acted like a parent or whatever, to try to get interviews.
Yeah.
Wow, like seriously, leave our children and youth alone. Let them breathe, let them grieve, let them just have time. I believe if we respect, and that's not just in Tumbler Ridge after this tragedy, I believe media should really listen here.
Yeah.
If you respect the people on a tragedy or whatever, I mean, some news is like, it's right now, and I understand that. If you actually respected the community that you come into, we're 2,700 people-ish, 24, 25, and I've heard different numbers for a week. So
Yeah.
I don't know if I need to go around one night. Trent, you can help me. We'll go around and count how many Tumbler Ridgeans we have. But if you respect them, I think our children and our youth, even our adults, when they're ready, some may never be ready, but when they're ready, I think you'll see them approach and want to maybe tell some stuff. Maybe they want to tell their whole story. That's up to them. Yeah. And I think if we respect that, they will realize that, hey, listen, these people aren't bad. These people aren't just trying to jam this camera in my face. And that's why I did it. I supported those youth, supported those children. I didn't want to do any interviews. But I think it was the right call. I think the worst thing I did is I didn't get that out, because I'd love to have been picked up in the media about the mayor's doing this to protect his youth and children. And I'll say adults. Adults are adults. They're pretty protective of their children and youth as well. But again, it's important for me, and I'll be honest. I don't know where I've seen it, but I've heard it. I haven't seen it, so I've heard it. But it's like we have a family down at the Children's Hospital in Vancouver, and there's been comments. And I honestly, I don't remember where I heard it. I didn't see it, but I heard it that the media is like leave them alone. Let Sia and David reach out to you.
Yeah.
Please, like. These two parents are trying to be there for their daughter, to help and be there for everything she needs right now as she tries to recover. And the worst thing we can be doing is trying to just get that story. When Sia or David is ready to give updates via media, I know they'll reach out.
Yeah.
I know they'll reach out. I'll be honest, Trenton, and maybe I didn't say it to you. I said to you, the two closest people to me when it came to media, it really showed him. It showed it to me. It showed it in my heart, and it showed it in my soul. Should have said 3. Obviously, you're one of those ones that person doesn't want to talk to you, or they don't want to tell everything right now. I know you've backed away. You've done it for me. So I know you're a respectful media person. You say, "Well, I'm just a newspaper writer." You're still media, and I think that's important to get out there. But I'll be honest, the other two, it would be Matt, CBC from Fort St. John.
Matt Prevost.
Yeah, Matt Prevost. Thank you. And I won't say that Matt's counterparts aren't somebody that I trust and believe in, that they're there for the right reasons, to care for our community, not here to push. Sarah out of Kelowna, I've talked with her. But again, Matt is so close because he's right here in Fort St. John. He's covered other stories in Tumbler. It's not just a tragedy. He's covered good things about hockey tournaments and our U18 winning the first place on, can't remember what tournament was it, their home tournament.
Yeah.
So things like that, I think that's so important. Matt was here on the weekend. He reached out. He does have my personal number. I thought I had posted my statement from the mayor's office about no media interviews. I assumed that's maybe why he wanted to meet. So I told him I'd meet him at town hall because I was already here to come on over. And I said we hugged and asked how I was doing, and then. I said to Matt, I said, listen, I'll be honest, I'm not sure if you're aware, but I'm not doing any interviews on the weekend. And I'm not saying it was this media or that. To me, it was a media as a whole. Yeah. And Trent, I'm sorry, your media as a whole.
I was in there.
Like, no disrespect to you or Matt. Matt's like, I wasn't even coming here for an interview. I just wanted to make sure, we built a friendship and a bond there, and I want to make sure you're okay. how you feeling with the community? Man, nothing but respect. And it was like yourself when you reached out the first time, trying to, I'd like to wait till Tuesday or whatever next week works for you. You respected that. You understand it. I mean, you live here, you're part of our family, right? So you understood that. And the other one I'll mention is Global News Vancouver. Chris was in town. I don't know how to pronounce his last name, so I don't want to get it wrong, but, same thing. I was over at the restaurant. I went over and had a coffee. I was sitting with a few community members, and he got up and he said, "Hey, I know, Darryl, you're the mayor. I just want to introduce myself. We have never got to speak or shake hands or hug," and we hugged. I just wanted to meet you in person. You've zoomed in for some of my for reports or for interviews, and just want to do this. And that was really respectful. And he had my personal number from Remita Dane. No, Remita. Can't remember her last name. But she was the one that covered our wildfires, and I thought the same thing when she was here. Respectful, wasn't just looking for the story. She reaches out. I'll be honest, since the tragedy, she's reached out every day. Hey, how you doing? Are you okay? Need anything? Wow, wow. So when I met Chris, I said to him the same thing. I said, listen, why don't we meet up? So he came over to the town hall one day, just himself. And I'd explained to him in the text that I'm not doing any interviews, but if you wanted to come over, let's have a chat. And I explained the same thing to him, the reason I wasn't doing interviews. Yeah. He explained to me the story of the vigil. So as it comes out, we hear more, and I'll share his story because, maybe he won't do it on his newscast, but, he said, they had their camera closer by the trees back, but closer to the Lakeview Credit Union. He said, we weren't approaching anybody, Darryl, or we weren't doing this. We heard you from the Premier's speech, and if people came up, they didn't want to be on camera, but this was their opinion. We shared those. He said, when the vigil started, he said, we all looked at each other as Global News reporters and put our mics down and joined the crowd. And that's when he started he teared up. He choked up. To me, he was here for the right reason. And that's why I think I have trust in that individual and that Vancouver Global News, because I think they would take time. So I offered the same thing to him that I mentioned to you, that I'm available Tuesday. Yeah. So I said to Matt, Chris, yourself, you guys can have me Tuesday first. And I'll be honest, yesterday was a little busy. Yeah. I didn't get to do all the ones I wanted to do yesterday. It was only one. It wasn't Matt. It wasn't yourself. It was Global News. I got a chance to be able to do Global News, and Chris was here, and I think that was important for me because I trusted him that if I need to take a break, I can take it. When you're live on Zoom, you need to take a break. You got to shut down Zoom, yeah. And you're trying to obviously reach out to your community. I can reach out to my community because they're right here in my community and they're my family. But, trying to make sure everybody understands. I'm guessing in Canada, maybe people pick it up in the world, but what is still happening here? We still are grieving. We still have hurt family members in this community. We have people that have lost loved ones. We have a family that's lost their mom. How devastating. Yeah. And again, I appreciate yourself from being from Tumbler, but being with Tumbler Ridge Lions. Again, you're so respectful, and I get it. You're part of the family, so I guess we let you know if we were having. You're part of the family. It's pretty easy to talk to you. But Matt, the respect that Matt had from CBC out of Fort St. John, and then Chris with Global News. I'll be honest, yeah. You're the three I really trust, and I believe that as we move on from this tragedy and start working through the grieving, and I can't remember all the stages of things. There'll be some anger and whatever it may be, that we're there to support us all. And I look at the Strang family, and I don't have a right to speak on behalf of the Strang family with Adele, the grandparents, but they're part of our family. I've met with them. I'll tell you, I talked to a lot of community members, and geez, and they're like, no way, they're a victim too. They've lost their daughter and a grandchild, and helping with the other grandchildren. I'm there for them too, and I know the community is, and that just shows you that how amazing we are as a community, and I think this is a family, and us as a community. It was talked about by the Prime Minister and other leaders of. Man, nothing like you totally see it. You can talk about it all you want, watch Darryl on the news, whatever. You see it firsthand how we treat people. It's an amazing community. Does family always get along, Trent? No. Yeah. Of course we're not, but it's okay. We still come back. We're not angry. Yeah, we're going to have our little tiffs or whatever that somebody doesn't agree with what I do in my business because I do this or somebody does that. And as a mayor, I voted this way and some didn't like that my direction. That's okay. That's okay, we're human. And yeah, I just love this community.
We're
Yeah.
gone longer than you said that you would offer me, but I did want to ask
Yep.
one more
Sure.
question. And I know this is a tragedy, but if there were if there was one good thing or five good things that you think that we could get out of this, like having mental health support or having controls on the entrance to the new school, what are the things that you are hoping that 3 years down the line, 5 years down the line, this community will be doing different?
Yeah, I think when we talk about what can we do different for schools for different that'll go through the school district 59 in the province. So to me, we have a tragedy,
Yeah.
a very bad tragedy that happened on Tuesday last week. My beliefs is that we have I don't want to say a cloud, but we have we're being known as a school shooting. We have multiple people loss of life, multiple injured. So we have eight people, so 6 at the school that have lost their lives, 5 students, 1 teacher. We have 2 other people in our community that were their lives were taken at a different location. We have a mom and a child. Well known about that in the world, not just Canada, the world. It's going to take some time. I think we need to make sure that we're not known for that. We'll always know what happened here. We're not forgetting that as family members, and people Google it, it's going to be there. That's okay. But my hope is as we come out of this stronger and more resilience with making sure we're supporting those people, the family, this whole family is going to need support for, that we can come out of that. That's not what we want to be known as. We don't want to be known as one of the worst shootings in Canada. We want to be known for, again, I said to all the media, why leave? The Prime Minister's going to be leaving, you're thinking of leaving. Why not stay behind and rent a chopper and go get some video of the Krakowka Falls, higher than Niagara Falls? Why not understand that, not only do we have coal, which we make steel with, but dinosaur fossils have been found in our area, footprints and multiple. So I think that's my big hope is as we work through it as a whole community that we can show people that we're just not known for this tragedy that was a shooting. We can be known for where we were. All of our hiking trails, all the rock formations. We're UNESCO Global Geopark. We have dinosaur fossils and footprints within our community. We have Krakowka Falls. We have other falls. We have great fishing. We have great campgrounds. We live in God's paradise. Let's be straightforward. We live in God's paradise. That's why a majority of people want to be here. That's why a majority of people come back. One, because they love the community. They love the family concept, right? But you can't find a better place of what we have right in our own backyard. 10 minutes from town, you're on hiking trails. That's my hope as we work through this as a community as a whole. I'm not going to be able to do this on my own. Trent, you as a family member and a media person isn't going to be able to change that narrative through the paper. But as we all come together with the same kind of focuses, we can get rid of that. It'll always be there, but we can start being known for what we're known for. And again, that's our backcountry, UNESCO Global Geopark, the dinosaur funds, all that. It's going to be so important that we really, really look at that.
Perfect. All right, like I say, I've kept you a little longer than planned, so I will let you go. I'm going to keep this stream running because there were 4 or 5 things that I wanted to mention, and since I've got everything set up here, I will do that. But
Sure.
It was good.
I'm going to make it, just mention a couple things if I can, and I know you're trying to get rid of me, and that's good because I need to get rid of myself too. But we also got to look and realize as a family, all the business community here in Tumbler Ridge that stepped up. I'll be honest, early on I really started talking about the ones, and I missed everybody. I mean, I mentioned a few because it was forefront in my brain, but it was everybody. There wasn't one business in this community that did any more than any other business. What a great business community we have. That's home-based, that's the brick and mortars, like the things that everybody has supported, like just our community members, what they've done. And then, like, honestly, all the outpouring support from outlying areas, other businesses too, but really and truly, what a strong community we live in. When you see the business community, it's whatever they need, how do we do it, how do we help? And we, like that there's such an amazing thing to be part of too, is, what everybody did as businesses to make sure that they were there to do what support they could. It was phenomenal. And I think that just needs to be said, because I did at first just mentioned, and I'll be honest, I was mentioning consumer resources because I was in meetings and knowing what they were helping on the ground with, and I know Lush Desserts right away with coming out just to try to have a meeting place. So again, I started mentioning some business and I missed them. Like I missed North Star Kitchen, I missed the Inn, the Steakhouse, 242 Brew, and that's why I say it's the business community that all came together. Because myself, I don't want to miss somebody. It wasn't done out of disrespect to any of those businesses. Every one of them have done such an amazing job to show support, not only during this tragedy, it's the amount of business that support this community day in, day out. It's no other, in my opinion. Other towns probably have great business partners too, but this community, I tell you, stands strong with the whole community. Again, one big family. So I just thank you for that, because I wanted to make sure we got that out. Thank the business community. I mean, like yourself. I mean, doing live feeds. I think you mentioned there when we were talking before the interview, you haven't even fully wrote a paper yet. You're so busy doing live feeds to try and make sure you can get some of the information out today, not in a week from now, Trent. So, it's important to talk about what you've done too. Updating people, having media allow them to share some of the pictures you've taken and video and stuff. And again, you're another business. I understand I call you media because you are, but you also own Tumbler Ridge Lines, which is a newspaper. Yeah. I know you're the reporter, so again, it's media, but it's still important to mention what you've done as well. So thank you for that.
All right. You're good? Okay. Woo! Click, click.
Thanks,
Sorry.
Sorry.
It's all right.
You're good.
All right. Oh, look, I'm sitting in the mayor's chair. Yeah, I wanted to take a second to thank Mayor Krakowka for sitting down and talking with us. Like I say, one of the things that I'm trying to do is leave space hold space for people to tell their stories, but not getting up in people's face and saying, tell me, how does this make you feel? Right? That's never been the thing that I've been going for. So I don't know what form that's going to take. I've been kind of wanting to set up somewhere downtown, maybe at a coffee shop, and just have people show up. Actually, what I wanted to do, like I say, I've said this before, was at the library, but currently the library and the community center is closed to media just because the counselors are there, and having people coming in for counseling and having me there just feels a little off. So I just wanted to also kind of tell people an update of what has been happening today. I'm sorry, but if anybody's sending me messages, the computer is turned the wrong way so I can't see it. And quite frankly, the screen has been, the resolution has been shrunk, and I can barely read what people are saying there. I'm sorry, I didn't bring my computer glasses. I brought my regular glasses. So anyways, but today, I wanted to say that the rest of the trailers are supposed to be arriving today. I drove by there on my way here. I did not see any new ones or many new ones, but they could have been, they could have double stacked them or something, and I just kind of missed them when I was driving past. So, but hopefully the trailers will be here today. School, no word yet on when they're going to be up and active and people will be allowed to come back to school. I will let you know as soon as I know. And I'll probably, as they're working on setting the trailers up, I'll get a few more pictures and what I know. If there's any School District 59 people who want to talk, you know how to find me, or maybe you don't. The tape down at the high school, I'm sure I saw somewhere somebody said, the police tape is down at the high school and life is going back to normal. The police tape is not down at the high school, or at least it wasn't this morning. The police tape is still up at the high school, which means that Southgate Road is still closed from basically from, is it Main Street or is this Main Street? Whatever road it is that goes down from the community center to the Vic. That it's basically Southgate is closed from there to the M Road. I live here. Monkman, Mackenzie, whatever. The M Road. There's an M Road there. There's an M Road there. They're the main roads, but the road is closed. Yes, I know people are writing it down there. Read the comments. I can't see them. Um, let's see. Delivery. Okay. The paper should be getting in sometime today or tomorrow morning. I was hoping to find some delivery creatures, maybe some teens, maybe some people who wanted to just go for a walk at the minus 25 and do home delivery. I think this is an important issue, and it should be in the hands of everybody in this community. So I ordered extra copies, and I'm going to see if I can find people to deliver the paper. I have asked some people to help me with that, and I haven't heard back. So if you are seeing this and you have a kid or a group of people who would want to deliver, say, to the upper bench or to the lower bench or to the middle bench, let me know. That will be happening tomorrow. So yeah, if you know of people who can help me with the delivery, that would be lovely. I do have some rules around that, right? You know, it's basically it's the same thing with. Oops, sorry, I shouldn't tap my mic. It's the same thing as with what I do with reporting. It's just, if you are going to deliver, be respectful. Don't walk on people's yards. Put the paper in a place where they can see it, but is not, don't just throw it on their ground, throw it on the ground, because it can be windy here. I've seen papers that I've put someplace safe and then they've just kind of blown away. Anyways, so looking for people who would be interested in doing delivery, hopefully tomorrow, but tomorrow and Monday, maybe tomorrow, or sorry, Monday, tomorrow and Friday. Tomorrow and Friday. Friday is only supposed to be -7 last I looked, so it'll be a better day to do delivery. And then finally, Tumbler Ridge Strong. You have probably all seen the Tumbler Ridge Strong stickers and people changing their profiles to that image. That image was generated by a local. I used it on the cover of the paper, and when I did, I asked if it would be possible. I asked if it would be possible, and they said, "Yeah, sure, great." And I asked a couple questions. Basically, she does not want to, she's not asserting any rights to the image. So if you are a printer in Fort St. John, I'm getting a phone call. Hang on. So I'm going to take this live on the air. You're live on the air with Trent Ernst of Ridgelines. Oh, they hung up on me. Okay. Anyways, it was a number I didn't recognize. Maybe it was Bern. Hi, Bern. What was I saying? I got to go look at where I was. Tumbler Ridge Strong. Oh, yes. So if you are a printer out of Prince George or want copies of that image to use, it's possible to download and use it as you will. I personally would ask that you not change it in a manner that isn't respectful. Like it currently says Tumbler Ridge Strong. Don't change it to be like Tumbler Ridge Sucks or anything like that. Just as long as you're respectful. Like for my paper, it's a square image, and my space was a banner. So I took the Tumbler Ridge Strong, moved it up in the corner, Tumbler Ridge logo there. Anyways, you'll see that when the paper gets released. So that's basically it. Just if you have any, if you're looking to do stickers for your hockey team to put on the back, anything like that, it is open. That's the big thing. I got a note from Paula, which I didn't write down in my things, but just the library is going to remain open on Sundays for the next 2 weeks at least. Normally the library is closed, but the library is a central hub for this community. I know the community center is also but as the former board chair of the Tumbler Ridge Library, I am a strong believer in what libraries do. I tell a story that I heard tell by the author of a book called Palaces for the People, which was a book about libraries, and he talked about how he was joining this group of researchers. They were walking around this community looking for ways to build support, and they were coming up with all these ideas. You need a place where people can have access to computers. You need to have places where the kids can do stuff. The kids, but the adults have stuff to do too. That you have entertainment. That you have this, you have that, you have friendly stuff. Like basically, just came down this litany of things that would be perfect for a shelter, a safe space for the community, a community shelter for when in times of difficulty. Like it was sort of after a heat wave down in, I think it was Chicago, and people had died because of the heat wave, and they came up with this list of things that they were looking for. And he looked at the list and went, you're basically describing a library here. So the library is important. I believe in the library. Go there if you need to. I was told that they didn't want it promoted, but I'm also being told to make sure to mention that Service Canada is there for the next couple of weeks to help you with anything that Service Canada can help you with. EI supports. I don't know the list. I haven't talked to them, but they have posters around town. As I was working on this, I just got a note from Sean over at Northern Metallic saying that the truck is here. So I'm going to go pick up my papers now. Thanks everybody for watching. If you have questions, again, send me messages. If you have updates for tomorrow, send me messages. If you know of events that are happening that, even across the country or around the world that you think people in Tumbler Ridge should know about, send me a note. All right, that's me. And now I'm taking off my reporter hat and going to my behind the camera hat, and I'm finishing.